All right, I would like to welcome back Andrij Dobriansky, Director of Communications for the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Andrij, thank you so much for your time today. I spoke with you earlier this week. Now the day has arrived. Are you any more confident that real progress will be made?
That's one thing that I just came back from church. We had a national, actually international call from our bishops to go to church and pray. Today's the Feast of the Dormition, and we pray to the Virgin Mary for her intercession, because today of all days, we would like to see, as you say, progress. We don't need to solve everything today, but what we do need is some kind of progress towards a ceasefire. Ukraine has already done that. Ukraine has made the step to say, we will give you a 30-day ceasefire. Let's sit across the table and talk. In fact, Ukraine was ready to meet, President Zelensky was ready to meet with Putin in Istanbul at the suggestion of President Trump just 8 weeks ago. It is on Russia to make the next move.
Should President Zelensky have been included, or does it make sense for President Trump to use today's summit to try to set the table for this second meeting?
I don't know what makes sense or not. We do know that President Putin, until we see him in a room with Zelensky, is the day we'll believe that it happens. He doesn't believe that Ukraine is a country, and certainly doesn't agree that President Zelensky is a leader of that country. So we know that he's against any kind of communication with him. He chickened out of Istanbul. That's why I'm wondering if there's an announcement about a summit after this, as President Trump wants, whether Putin would even show up for that.
Yesterday, we know that the president admitted, solving this war is not simple, in spite of his promise to end this on his first day in office. Let's listen to some of what he said yesterday in the Oval Office.
I've solved 6 wars in the last 6 months, a little more than 6 months now, and I'm very proud of it. I thought the easiest one would be this one. It's actually the most difficult. I thought this would be maybe an easier one. It never made sense, this war. It would have never happened when I was president.
All right. So Russia is still waging attacks on Ukraine, including overnight. This happening, ahead of today's summit. Is Putin taking this seriously?
Well, he's certainly wrapping up his attacks. We know that in terms of ballistic material, so whether it's the missiles or these glide bombs, at the last 6 months of 2024, there was 11,000 dropped on Ukraine. It's over 27,000 as of today. Just yesterday, the United Nations Office of Human Rights put out their July summary of casualties in Ukraine. We have as many casualties in July of 2025 as we did in May of 2022. So we are increasing it back up to where we had pushed back. Ukraine has successfully pushed back. But over the course of this year, we had 3 stoppages of American weapons coming to Ukraine. We've had our intelligence shut down by America. So this is really a focal point for the Trump administration to sit down with Putin. And as Trump said, figure out in the first minute whether this guy is serious or not. We firmly believe that this is a man who's a war criminal who should not be allowed on any sovereign territory without being put in a jail. But if President Trump sees the ability to get a ceasefire, let him get that ceasefire. If not, we know that we need to support Ukraine until the day comes that we can make sure everybody lives in a free society, because those territories they talk about, there are 1.6 million children in those territories. Let's think about their future, not as part of some kind of Russian plan of territory, but about their lives.
And Andrij, President Trump, as you know, is threatening these further secondary sanctions on Russia's trading partners. Do you think he moves forward on that? And if so, at what point? I mean, especially if there's plans for this potential second trilateral meeting to include Ukraine's president.
Well, if you hear Scott Bessent, who I believe is going to be traveling today, if you listen to him, he believes that the secondary sanctions, which were only announced on India, they haven't come into effect yet, but they were announced against India. He considers that to be part of the deadline announcement by President Trump. However, we know that there are a whole host of actions. In fact, one of President Trump's former sanctions czars put out a list of them on as part of the Hudson Institute this week, just pointing factually that you can actually increase the pressure on Russia within a week's time of legislative and executive orders. These are items that America already has, not least of which is, of course, a bill that's been proposed, bipartisan bill by Senator Blumenthal and Graham, that is ready to go whenever the president gives the word.
All right. I mean, overall, what is the feeling in Ukraine? Are the people there confident that this war can come to an end, let alone soon?
Well, we're praying for peace today, all across Ukraine, all across the United States, anywhere that is Ukrainian or somebody who supports Ukraine. We're really believing in the power of peace today, the power of prayer to enable peace. And in the closing prayer of our service today, we prayed for the intercession of the Virgin Mary to lift up our hearts, give us hope, but we also prayed that she may open the hearts of those who find evil in their hearts right now, and maybe they can see what's better on the other side. And so that's what we're thinking about today.
Andrij Dobriansky, thank you again for your time.